It's always lit over at ajsrantroom.com. We got the best bags and accessories, our beloved Black Series. We got fresh lids for you hat lovers, fire jackets and hoodies, and of course we got you covered on the t-shirts. And introducing our first shoe line, Aloysius Germain. So get on over to ajsrantroom.com today and get to shopping. You won't be disappointed. Well, welcome in. Happy Monday, everybody. I know we are a whole hour late, but I have a great excuse for why I'm a whole hour late today. I wanted to get it right. Right? I knew what I wanted to say, and usually the time that I have to prepare for this wasn't enough. So, like that usual hour and a half that I have to prepare, I needed more. So I needed like 3 hours because I wanted to make sure that what I said was concise, clear, fact-based, and on point, right? I wanted to make sure I was good, right? Because I didn't want to be making up stuff, and people, oh, this is wrong, this is a lie, you lying. So in the spirit of that, I took the extra time to make sure I got it right, as opposed to just fulfilling my obligation, but not in excellence, if that makes any sense. But anyway, so I know today we're supposed to, be reverent and light a candle for all the things he's done. Sorry. Do y'all remember that? I think it was the 90s, or was it the early 2000s when they had McDonald's had the Martin Luther King commercial, and that was one of the if we could light a candle. Anyway, and just thinking about that and just everything, episodes of A Different World where it was like Martin Luther King is giving the I Have a Dream speech and everyone's standing there, and I'm just like, wow, we have been got good and got everything. And so I got to thinking, and of course now, Chad Jackson has his series on Martin Luther King. Uh that's opening eyes, and there's a difference between, and it's difficult. It's difficult to let go of things that you've been taught, right? These are things that I was taught from childhood, right? Revere Martin Luther King was a hero, and so it really wasn't that difficult once once you give me the information. I'm pretty clear on it, and I'm just like, all right, cool. I can't rock with this anymore. Now, of course, it's been rumors for years, that MLK was out here, doing nefarious things, and it has nothing to do with his civil rights work, and we'll get into all of that, and all the alleged stuff that he has done. But hopefully, I will present why I no longer support this holiday. It has nothing to do with race. So let's get that off the table. It's a stupid reason. It has nothing to do with just hating or whatever. Anyway, it has everything to do with the truth. And when you're on a mission for right and wrong, there is no gray area, right? To quote the great poet India Ari, see, the truth, it needs no proof. Either it is or it isn't. I'm telling you the truth. It needs no proof. Either it is or it isn't. There's no such thing as my truth. That's demonic. We don't do that here. There's the truth. And then there's everything else. You can feel a ways about anything. There are things that I feel a ways about. That doesn't mean it's the truth. That's just my personal response to it, right? But what is the truth here? What is the reality of this situation here, right? And so I'm not here in my quest for truth. I'm not here to massage your feelings, okay? I'm not here to quote speeches that everybody has memorized. We all did that in elementary school, okay? But most importantly, I have to make it clear. I'm not here today as a hater. I have no reason to hate. I'm just simply here to tell the truth, right? And the truth is, we've been lied to. We've been had. We've been took, hoodwinked, bamboozled. And here in the year of our Lord 2026, looking at the fruit of said Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream, and that fruit tells us everything we need to know about what the real mission was. Because the vision wasn't liberation. It was never that. No. The vision wasn't Black economic independence. It was never that for Black Americans. That was never the vision of Martin Luther King. The vision wasn't about competitive free markets for Black people. No. The vision wasn't human dignity through work, ownership, and family. No, it was never that. The vision was management. Make Black Americans manageable, dependent, emotional, and superbly weak. That was the mission and the vision of Martin Luther King Jr. Now let me cook. So Martin Luther King Jr. had a dream, but the true intentions of that dream were never fully revealed in his speeches, the ones that we know, the I have a dreams and all of that stuff. It was never fully revealed in those speeches. And although you had rays of light in those speeches, if you really unpack what he was saying, but why would it be there? Because that would have derailed the mission, right? It was a long-term goal, right? It wasn't a short-term goal. When you have a long-term goal, right, you don't reveal your outcome outright unless it's a great thing, right? Of course. Why would Black people not want to be equal? Why would Black people not want to be able to vote? I mean, these are things, right? Emotional, but right. But let's be clear. Martin Luther King was a brilliant orator. As soon as you hear his voice, you know exactly who it is, right? He knew how to package language so it sounded righteous to the naked ear, right? Character over color, right? Judge not by the cover. I mean, all of that sounds beautiful. It's great. It sounds amazing. But once you know, you can't unknow. So, to understand the real Martin Luther King Jr., you don't go to the highlight reels, ladies and gentlemen. You don't do that. That's like going to somebody's Instagram page and you thinking that's their whole life, right? No, that's an aspect of their life that they choose to share with you, right? So yeah, don't go to the highlight reels. You don't go to the monuments. You don't go to the holiday propaganda, the McDonald's commercial that I sung for you at the top. If we could lie, all right. You don't go to that. You go to his actual writings. And y'all already know. Y'all know the saying. Y'all know the saying. The best way to hide information from Black people is to put it in a book. It's a sad stereotype, but it's very, very true. Especially a book that isn't, about debauchery or entertain, just solely for entertainment purposes, right? It really easy, right? But that's also in Americans in general, right? But when you read his own words, not somebody's fabrication of his words, the story changes. When you find out it's not a follower of Christ, when you find out he's a trained Marxist intellectual whose goal was to permanently marry Black Americans to the Democrat Party, making the government our daddy and turning Black people into political theater props for white liberal elites. This is one of the greatest mind flips in American history. You tracking? Okay, cool. And the most tragic part, the overwhelming majority of Black Americans don't have the courage to say out loud. They'll say it in private. They'll say it at the kitchen table. They'll say it in the living room, but they'll never say it on social media or in public. They're afraid to say something went wrong. Ever notice how it's so difficult for these people to call out Democrats? And I'm talking about Black Democrats. It's so hard for them to call their own people out. I'll call out a Republican in a minute. I'll call out a conservative in a minute. I'll call out some MAGA person in a minute, right? Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You ever notice that? Yeah. Basically, the Black Democrat became a chew toy for one political party. So, in the spirit of honesty, Democrats today come in all colors, and they're selling one product to the people: victimhood, 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 victimhood. If you are not a victim, you can't sit with us. We will adapt all of your pain and trauma. We'll take on the immigrants' pain and trauma. Yep. Yeah. We'll take on your trauma. Yeah. If you're having a hardship, we can relate. No. They take the Black vote for granted. They be in the Democrat Party because they know it's guaranteed. Hmm. They don't have to fight for your vote. They don't have to deliver any real tangibles, any real results, right? They know they don't have to do this. They don't have to even govern well. Hence, you've seen certain cities in this country where they've had Democrat mayors for over 100 years. Bad governance, and you still vote for them, because no matter how bad things get, no matter how broken the cities become, no matter how unsafe the streets are, you're still going to walk into that booth and pull the lever for incompetence. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's a D next to their name. They must be trustworthy. That's like me saying there's an R next to their name. They must be trustworthy. Don't look into anything that don't look into their voting record. Don't look into their stances. Don't, if they don't have a proper website. The one of the things for me, sidebar, for a candidate, Republican or a Democrat, if you don't have a website that's built well, I already know you're not about it, because you don't even care about your presentation, right? The presentation has to work, right? And it has to be perfect, but it has to be good. You know who had a good website, and I don't agree with him no ways Monday? Mondomny. He had a great website. He detailed everything he wanted to do on that website. It was great font, great colors, great vision, right? Whoever built that website, kudos to you. Mhm. But ladies and gentlemen, that's not loyalty, that's captivity. So what you've been fed, what you're feeding into, that's captivity. It's not loyalty. Now, let me say something that's going to make some of y'all really uncomfortable. It is an oxymoron to call yourself a follower of Christ and a blue dog Democrat. They don't go together. That don't work, right? You cannot be a follower of Christ and support a party that tells you you're better off killing your child in utero. You cannot be taken seriously as a Christian while supporting a party that muddles the definition of marriage to accommodate sin and debauchery. A true follower of Christ does not use the word of God to justify worldliness. Facts don't care about your feelings, ladies and gentlemen. The word is the word. The word don't change. The world may change, but the word does not change. Now we've seen churches try to remix, flip it and reverse it, and try to justify things or talk about translations, or to go to theology school, and all of a sudden it's no longer about the Bible. It's I can do all of this. I can, you can be a male pastor with a male husband and lead a and lead, and lead a flock. I can't even say this with straight face. Lead a flock of sheep to salvation. You really gonna do that? Uh-huh. And let me ask you something really, really simple, since we're on the subject of these people. Have you ever seen white liberals tolerate a truly biblical pastor? A truly biblical pastor. Have you ever seen it? If you have an example of a truly biblical pastor that white liberals have literally pushed to the forefront, show me them, because I couldn't find one. Not one who whispers, not one who dances around saying, "Oh, I don't know." Not one who affirms feelings over truth. I'm talking about a pastor, a flat-footed, down-home pastor that giving you the word of God straight, no chaser. A pastor who will not spare your feelings to deliver the word of God. They don't exist in liberal spaces. I'll just cut to the chase. They don't exist, because the truth offends these people. So Christians, real followers of Christ, I'm sorry to break the news to you, but Martin Luther King Jr. is not someone you should be celebrating. He should not be exalted. He should not be put on a pedestal. And the biggest thing of all, he should not be spiritually sanitized. It's easy. Oh, yes, he died tragically. We all can agree to that. But the life is the life. The legacy is the legacy, right? Right, right. Martin Luther King Jr. was an adulterous Marxist who played the role of a Baptist minister to perfection. Perfect. Chef's kiss performance. Denzel ain't got ish on what Martin Luther King did. But according to biblical standards, not me, again, it's not my opinion, it's not conjecture, I'm not making this up. He was not a Christian. And I know. This is the part where people start screaming, misinformation, you're lying, you're a hater. You don't know what you're talking about. Cool. Let's go to the proof, people. Heck, I'm all about the proof now. Let's go to the proof, because I don't do vibes. I do receipts. In his own writings, MLK denied the virgin birth. In the papers of Martin Luther King Jr., he wrote that the evidence for the doctrine was, quote, too shallow to conceive any objective thinker, to convince any objective thinker, noting that the earliest New Testament documents made no mention of it and dismissed Isaiah's prophecy outright. Is that Christianity, ladies and gentlemen? I don't know. Maybe I missed it. I'm still learning. From a hardcore people out there who've been in the faith for a considerable amount of time, is that Christianity? I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something here, but the word is the word. So in his the influence of the mysterious religions on Christianity, I'll read that again. In the influence of the mystery religions on Christianity, he openly stated that Christianity borrowed. Oh, this is a typo. Sorry. Um, wait, hold on. See, I told y'all I was rushing today. Okay, cool. He openly stated that Christianity borrowed from Mithraism. So, paganism. That's not Christianity. In the first volume of his papers, he denied the bodily resurrection of Jesus, saying he rejected it as a teenager, and later claiming the doctrine lacked external historical authenticity. Is that Christianity? I don't know. Y'all let me know. Is that the word? Is that the Lord? I don't know. Is that a pastor? Is that a pastor you would go to? Is that a pastor you would seek guidance from? I don't know. I don't know. You know, I'm AJ. I'm AJ over here on social media. You know. You know. I didn't go to theology school. You know. Apparently, you got to go to theology school to understand the word. You know. Also, in his writings on the divinity of Jesus, MLK rejected the idea that Christ was divine, calling that belief harmful. One more again. Is that Christianity? Is that Christianity? That's not Christianity. So where does that leave us, ladies and gentlemen? It leaves us with a man who denied the core doctrines of the faith he claimed to represent. That's like trying to build the foundation of a house and using leaves instead of concrete. I'm gonna use taboo bamboo sticks instead of concrete to build the foundation of my house. That's gonna work out for you. So, by biblical standards, that makes him what? A false prophet. In fact, I would even go as far as to call him the original pulpit pimp. And the fruit of that legacy lives on today. I mean, you see it in pastors and men like Jamal Bryant, TD Jakes, Creflo Dollar, Mike Todd. I mean, these are pastors who preach social justice without salvation, activism without repentance, and feelings without truth. So yeah, 2 Peter 2:14 says plainly, having eyes full of adultery that cannot cease from sin, a heart trained in covetous practices. Yeah. You don't get to glaze over that. And we just say, "Oh yeah, well, he's a great orator. I have a dream. Judge a man not by his color of skin, the content of his character." I mean, all that is great. Mhm. And if you think that's harsh, let's talk about another moment in history. In 1964, under J. Edgar Hoover, the FBI sent Martin Luther King Jr. a letter. Accompanied with that letter was an audio recording documenting alleged, I'll say alleged, sexual behavior. Language so graphic it can't even be read on the air. You can go look this up for yourself. I mean, nothing I'm telling you doesn't have it. All of this has a source. Mhm. And if I care enough, I'll put it in the description of this video, but I probably will not because it's time for you people to just start doing some work. I have to do it myself sometimes. I have to literally tell myself, AJ, take your emotions out of this and read this objectively. I don't care who it came from. I don't care the source. Take your personal thoughts, feelings, thoughts, trauma, drama, and everything out of it and read it for what it is. That's it. Sometimes I literally have to do that to myself because there's a difference between reading something and reading to comprehend. Anybody can read something, but do you understand it? Right? Okay, cool. Now, I'm not here to glorify Hoover, or defend the FBI because we all know we got issues with them three-letter agencies and all that stuff. But facts are facts. Facts are facts. This is why the King family did not want these files released. This is why they didn't want Trump to open up the full files. It's not because, we didn't want to hear about his great crusades across America trying to help the Negro. No, it wasn't that. He just didn't want this nefarious stuff to get out. Mm-hmm. We didn't want to flaw. We didn't want to muddy up the legacy, muddy up the image, the monument in Washington, right? Mm-hmm. But if you really want to see the fruit of that behavior, I mean, Just look at modern Christian conventions. I mean, I've never been to one, but I've heard. They're full of sexual perversion. They're full of orgies, drunkenness, then people showing up the next morning, falling out, Holy Ghost fired out. Meanwhile, just last night, you was in a whole orgy. So how is that revival? That's not revival. That's literal hypocrisy, right? But it all has a root, right? And so when the root is I have a dream, meaning we can live like the world in private, act like, oh yeah, that's in private, we just gonna sit over here and do our thing. And then when we show up in public, oh, we're great, oh, we're amazing. No, 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 no. Not when you profess to be a follower of Christ. There's no you don't get to do that, because first of all, you can deceive the people, but you ain't deceiving God. So still ultimately you gonna have to answer. Not when like God just over. Oh yeah, yeah, that didn't happen. He. I have a dream. Be nonviolent. All that stuff. Whatever. Martin Luther King used Christianity as a vehicle to push Marxist ideology, and Black America has not been the better for it. Now, this isn't about perfection. Every man falls short. Every man falls short. But leadership demands a higher standard, right? Right, right. Leadership is different than you and I, right? When you're a leader, especially in a spiritual realm, yeah, 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 you have to be above reproach, right? But here's the other question that I have for you all. What was the fruit? What was the fruit of the legacy of all of this? Because humanitarianism isn't about speeches; it's about outcomes, right? Because the argument is, oh, well, all the stuff he did, da, da, da." And now that we live in the information age, where receipts they don't disappear. In fact, they're louder than ever. Where writings can be verified, where history can't hide, the fruit is undeniable. Mhm. The legacy that MLK wanted to impart and has been very successful is one of dependency, confusion, inferiority complexes, a culture addicted to grievance and victimhood. Black Americans are worse off, not because we marched, but because we were reprogrammed. Remember what I told you at the top that, I've been indoctrinated with Martin Luther King propaganda since I was a child. Most Black Americans, most Americans, people, period, have been, right? Most of us have been, right? So the movement marked the moment, meaning the civil rights movement, when we sold out self sufficiency for government dependency, when we traded ownership for entitlement, when we abandoned family structure for federal programs. Yes. Yeah, 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 yeah. Before someone jumps in with the half truths about the welfare and SNAP benefits and EBT or whatever you call it this week, um, there are more white Americans on SNAP numerically. But that's not the argument here. The argument is per capita, right? You have to see per capita what it's really doing to your community, right? So I can't be objective and accountable if I'm looking over to another group of people who has God knows how many times the population that I do, and then be convinced that because because more of them are on it, that somehow it's okay for me to do it. That's called half truth. We're not buying that anymore. We're just not buying that. So per capita, Black Americans participate at more than double the rate. Ladies and gentlemen, that is not a flex. That's bondage. Mhm. So if it's 200 million of them and only 24 million of them are on it, yeah, that's relatively low compared to y'all. Mhm. Bondage, but you don't see it. Mental slavery is more difficult to break because mental slavery you can't see it, right? Physical slavery you can see it, right? You see the manifestation of what it does to you, right? right? You feel it, right? Mental, it's all up here, right? But you have to be able to acknowledge it so you can break it. I can't help you do that. You have to come to that on your own. Maybe it'll hit you in a dream and you'll wake up in the middle of the night and say, oh my gosh, we have to stop this. But anyway, Martin Luther King taught us to beg the government instead of building our own. I mean, look at Section 8, SNAP, public housing, government jobs. I mean, these were sold as noble things. This was noble. Get you a city job. Get you a city job. Why? And time has proven none of it produced long-term success. Before the federal takeover, Black Americans were already building. Ladies and gentlemen, this was despite Jim Crow, despite segregation, despite injustice. And that's the part they don't want you to remember. They want you to remember black and white images. They want you to remember fire hoses. They want you to remember these marches. Because if we weren't capable, why did they work so hard to dismantle it? And by they, I mean Democrats. Why did they work so hard to dismantle it? Y'all talk about Black Wall Street. They burned down Black Wall Street. Burned down by Democrats. Now, here we are in 2026. It is astronomical that over 60% of Black Americans hold favorable views of socialism. So I ask again, ladies and gentlemen, was it a dream or did it produce a nightmare?
I want to read something to you guys out of the Iron Triangle. My friend, my brother, and my client. This is an American treatise. If you don't own it, I don't understand why you don't. But you need to run to Amazon and get this book. Let me read something to you. In his Pulitzer Prize winning book, Parting the Waters, Taylor Branch wrote that in 1956, the Communist Party, or liberals in Moscow, ordered their agents in the civil rights movement to establish a separate national development for American Negroes modeled on the Soviet republics. It seems to have worked magnificently well because in 2019, the Black community is the only community in America that has the characteristics of the former Soviet republics, complete with one-party rule, forced compliance, extreme poverty, government dependence, and dictator worship. If untrue, the Black Soviet-style ghettos that are disrupting and terrorizing America are an amazing coincidence. Nevertheless, one thing cannot be disputed. This was a terrible trade. Blacks gained the right to eat and use the bathroom beside Southern whites, while white liberals gained control of a nation and potentially the world. Think about what I just.
Are you awake yet? Are you up? Did the light bulb go off yet? If it hasn't, still not my problem. Because you can't begin to explain to me how a group of people who survived slavery, Jim Crow and segregation, black codes, et cetera, now embrace an ideology that demands submission to the state. You think that was an accident? You think that just happened? That wasn't accidental. That was by design. And now when someone calls it out, they're the enemy. They're the problem. They're tap dancing. Da, 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 da. Couldn't be further from the truth. Look at what these liberal pastors promote. Look at the media who funds them. What are they pushing? You got Jamal Bryan pushing weed. Abortion. He's a sexual degenerate. Many of them are promoting confusion and activism without Christ. There's very little God in the message. It's all about activism. If your pastor gives you more activism than scripture, you're not in a church. You're at a political rally. If your pastor gives you racial idolatry, if there's more racial idolatry in that message than salvation, you're not in a church. You're in an indoctrination camp. Mm-hmm. Martin Luther King ingrained the belief that the government is the solution. And we listened. And the man who warned us, the man without the holiday, no, we ain't ready for this conversation. Now, the man who warned us about all of this, the man who doesn't have a national holiday, the man who does not have a monument in Washington, Malcolm X. El Hajj Malik El Shabazz does not have a monument in Washington. Why? Because you couldn't control him. He preached dependency, political maturity, making logical, sound political decisions, not from your feelings, but from the reality around you. Mm-hmm. Hiring people to do a job, not because they gave some great speech that made you feel a ways, but because they're actually about it. They actually about the changes you need in your government. Nope, but instead you married bigger government, which became bigger government, which is now an overbloated, out of control government, which you now worship. Mm-hmm. Malcolm X preached self-determination. He wouldn't recognize this black community today. And the fact that he had the foresight in the early 60s to see what the white liberal was already doing, and y'all still fell for it, that ain't on him, that's on y'all. He doesn't have a monument in Washington because white liberals couldn't control him. He couldn't be told what to say and do. He didn't have a checkered past that they could expose, right? Mm-hmm. I've seen the Spike Lee movie, the Spike Lee Malcolm X movie like a billion times. When I tell you that's 3 hours I never waste. When I watch Spike Lee's Malcolm X, that is 3 hours I never waste in my life, ever, 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 ever. And if you've never seen it, go watch it. I know he's a Muslim. We can get listen. It's not about the Muslim thing, right? It's about right and wrong, right? Okay, cool. I get it. But isn't it ironic that the Muslim is the actual one here who's giving Black Americans the key to freedom? The only thing he left out was Christ. Now you got to put Christ in there, and Malcolm X would have been the whole package. Anyway, they couldn't control him. That's why he's not propped up. But there was a point in the movie. That's why I brought the movie up. There was a scene in the movie where the FBI and the CIA were recording him. Like they were bugging his hotel rooms and everything, right? And he just never did anything. He wasn't having orgies. He wasn't out there acting crazy. He didn't have women coming to his room. He wasn't doing anything crazy. And then in the scene, it pans away out of the scene. And then one of the agents says, compared to King, this guy is a monk. Prince, if you still here, you know what I'm talking about. If Prince is here, you know what I'm talking about. Compared to King, this guy is a monk. Malcolm X is the real deal. Muslim aside, he actually had the interests of Black Americans in mind and wanted the best for Black Americans. That's why he doesn't have a national holiday. Mm-hmm. That's why he's not the golden boy for the Democrat Party. We can't prop him up. We can't make him special. He want these Negroes out here believing they can actually do something without us. How dare you, Malcolm?
I absolutely hate looking at this image, but you need to see it to feel it. Just settle with this black and white image right here. This is black men walking around with signs around their neck that said, I am a man. Now, I know you've been taught to say, look at them walking, letting those white folks know that they're a man. Think about how degrading this actually is. No other people group would ever do this. We've never seen this anywhere in America. Why is it that we don't understand that a man doesn't announce that he's a man? He don't announce his manhood. He asserts it. A man demonstrates it. Right? My husband doesn't walk around this house having to constantly remind us with a sign that he the man of this house. We just know when he step in and we hear that bass in his voice, everybody in the house, even the dog Timber, knows. No different than a lion doesn't walk through the jungle wearing a sign that says, I'm a lion. When you see him, oh, you know, as soon as he roars, you pack up like, whoop, time to dip, time to go. You already know. You know what to do. You move accordingly because the lion is in your presence. So when a man walks into a room, you don't need a sign. His presence, his discipline, his strength, and competence tell you everything you need.
I'm trying to pull up this image here. I want to pull up that image that she had, that April had in her. I think I have it. All right, here it is. Replace image. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, it's on the desktop. Cool. There we go. Yeah. She was spot on. No lies spoken. Because I always questioned that. I was like, why do you have to announce to people that you are something? I never got that. Like, it's like saying I'm sexy or I'm a diva or I'm a lawyer or whatever label you want to put on yourself. You don't have to announce it, just assert it. People will experience it, right? When you are a man, people know you're a man. They're not going to be like, oh, yeah. So it's this ideology. It's this right here. This right here. This ideology feminized black men and taught black women rebellion. Mm-hmm. It rewarded people being passive. Mm-hmm. It punished strength. And you know when I realized I had got, I was in corporate America. And I would I already have a lighter voice. So imagine me making my voice even lighter. Imagine that, right? And so I always thought that because this is what I was told. Again, I was indoctrinated. I was told these things by people who ain't been nowhere or done nothing. Don't go in there being too assertive. Don't go in there demanding things. Don't go in there knowing your worth. You know your worth, but don't, really be, and I did the exact opposite. And if I was still in New York City, I'd probably be the manager of that company. I'd be in some upper level management right now in that company right now. Right. Because it wasn't about my color. It was about my talent. It was about my work ethic. It was about what I brought to the table. It was about the fact that I was assertive. It was about the fact that if the president is in the meeting talking, I'm going to ask that president questions in the meeting. Right? People get all meek. They don't want to talk. They're scared. You think a question is going to get you fired? I mean, like, what is wrong with you people? Yeah. So then you have these docile, passive. No. I never have to tell you I'm a man. My actions will tell you that. I don't have to sit there. I remember this video once I saw, and it's like, I'm the alpha male. You never have to say you're an alpha male. People know if you're an alpha male. Mhm. People know. They experience it. It's innate, right? It's innate. All right. But now we see the results. This is the results. I have to announce to you that I'm a man. I don't have to. I should never have to. And if you're still walking around, just sidebar, if you're still walking around in 2026 with shirts that say sexy or beautiful or diva or a man. Wait. What was the new shirt that I'm gonna come up with? Hold on. There's a new shirt because some crazy leftist alpha wolf. Yes. So this idiot came in the live and was like, "I'm an alpha wolf." If you have to announce that you're an alpha wolf, you're probably not one. Yeah. You probably just talking. You just talking to talk at that point. I'm an alpha wolf. But here's real black men talking solutions and talking about what really happened. What really happened?
Black women are voting for the Democrats because they have allowed them to usurp black leadership in our community, male leadership. And so they get a reinforcement from the media, they get reinforcement from the Democrat Party. And so they are easily manipulated into voting for Democrats. And that's where the spiritual element comes in. The Bible says, see to it that no one takes you captive through philosophy, empty deceptions, according to the traditions of men and the elementary principles of the world, rather than according to Jesus Christ. Colossians chapter 2, verse.
Hmm. Hmm. See, that's a black man who speaks and I listen, right? I'm not going to listen to a black man that's telling me every 5 minutes and I'm behind the eight ball. I have to work twice as hard. Oh, struggling, wade in the water. I will never listen to you. The moment you start that babble, I'm out the conversation. I'm done. I've checked out. Hmm. Because the first thing that I pick up on is that you're trying to manipulate me emotionally. And that was what Martin Luther King was very good at. Hmm. My emotions are not for sale. You know, my emotions are reserved for very specific moments. And the main thing in that moment I have to have is trust. If I don't trust you, you're not going to see that side of me ever, ever, unless I'm performing. Other than that, you won't see it from me personally. Those are the type of black men you should be listening to, but we don't want to listen to those types of black men because they're not telling us we could just do anything we want to do. Yeah, you can do anything you want to do. Absolutely. You can identify as anything you want to identify as. You can sleep with whoever you want to sleep with, but understand that none of that comes without a consequence, a repercussion, an outcome that you probably won't like. So, yeah. Let me be crystal clear. I did not take this time today to erase history. You know, it's not going to happen overnight. Just like this didn't happen overnight, this took 6 decades to build, right? 6 decades of convincing black people that they should be dependent on the government, that they should be passive, that they should not assert themselves in corporate America. Yeah, that they should not boss up. They no. So this isn't about erasing history. This is what I started out as. This was about telling the truth. We prop Martin Luther King up on this pedestal. We we make him irreverent and almost a mythical creature at this point. But this man was no saint. His own words told you he was not a Christian. His own words, not my opinion, his words. He was not a liberator. But, you know, again, I'm just AJ. And if you want to dispel the myth that hiding information in books is the way to get over on black people, why don't you go read the words for yourself? The writings are available. You can go find them. The same way you found that website to watch, those nefarious videos is the same way you can find these documents. Mm-hmm. Martin Luther King Jr. was a political operator. And the whole point of his ideology was to tether Black America to dependency. And I mean, look at us in 2026. The results are undeniable. Look at our broken families. Look at our government reliance. We think living in the projects is a rite of passage. You gonna pass that apartment? You gonna keep the apartment? Why would I keep an apartment in the projects? Why would I do that? My whole life's mission was to get out of the projects. And now I'm going to go back there. Like, what are we talking about? Mm-hmm. So you have that. You have cultural confusion. You have spiritual bankruptcy. I can't make the light bulb go off in your head. I can't wake you up. You have to do that on your own. That's your own work you have to do. But again, I'm gonna just give you the tool that works for me is when I read stuff and I watch stuff, I have to take my personal agenda or feelings out of it and just watch it for what it is. Mm-hmm. It's time to wake up. Not emotionally, not intellectually. I'm not talking to you. Do not be spiritually lazy. Be spiritually disciplined. This requires a different version of you. You can't hold on to your old, which is why it really quickly sidebar. This is really, I get irritated sometimes when people from my past like show up and they're like, "Hey, what's up?" And I'm like, "Cool, hi." And then when they realize that version of me is long dead and gone, they can't cope. They can't cope with it. And so, and it's not my job to get you through the grief that like I'm still who I am, but I'm not that thing anymore. And if you can't handle it, it ain't my problem. Yeah. So we need to get back to God and family and work ethic and ownership and responsibility. And that's going to be a tall task after 60 years of dependency. 60 years of being told where to stand, how much to pay, having to give all your bank information to somebody every year so they can make sure you didn't make $1 more so they don't have to throw you out or cut off your benefits. That's not living. That's literally prison. And then, God forbid, you lie about it and they catch you. Now you got hemmed up on charges. What was the rapper name? I can't think of a song because I probably don't know one. Oh, Big Frida. It was a rapper. I believe Big Frida's New Orleans, right? Rapper Big Frida, New Orleans, makes a good living, makes a really good living. Got busted. Section 8 housing. Why is a person that makes that much money even like, how do you even qualify for subsidized housing? Maybe at one point he was not rich or at least well off. Maybe at one point he wasn't and just kept reporting, lying about the income. And then they eventually found out. And I think he served time for that. So yeah, it's situations like that that are literally shows you what the legacy is, right? So the path forward once again is family, work, ownership, responsibility, ladies and gentlemen. Not crying, not dependency, not calling black people you don't agree with racial epithets and thinking somehow that's a flex. It's not a flex. You're doing the white liberals bidding for them. And now you even got these white liberals out here bold. They bold and in your face now, using the racial epithets right alongside y'all, and y'all don't even correct them. Meanwhile, if a white non-liberal says anything that you don't like, oh, we're just supposed to buck up and protect you. Hell no, not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. But anyway, that's the path forward. And basically, until Black America is willing to tell the truth about Martin Luther the King Jr., you all will never be free from the nightmare that he helped produce for you. The dream has become a nightmare. Mm-hmm. The dream is not that beach house in Idaho that they sold you, ladies and gentlemen. It's not that. No man should teach another man to be passive in the face of a man that's being violent with him. I don't remember what movie it was, but it was like the Woolworth counters. Apparently Woolworth back in the day used to have like restaurants, and the black people were doing sit-ins, and the black man was sitting there, all the black people were sitting at the counter where they weren't supposed to be, right? And the waitress or waiter threw a pot of coffee in the face of one of the men. And the instruction was that no matter what they do, don't react. So, ladies and gentlemen, if somebody throws a hot pot of coffee in your face, are you just going to sit there and be like, yeah, we shall overcome? Really? That's what you're training me to do. Somebody's beating me over the head with a club, and I'm just supposed to be like, oh, this little light of mine. Hell no, 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 absolutely not. Like Malcolm X said, you cannot be nonviolent with people who are being violent with you. That's it. Full stop. And that's why Malcolm X is not revered. I said what I said. Facts don't care about your feelings. Hmm. Oh, it was The Butler. Okay. I never saw the movie The Butler. Oh, wait, I did see the movie The Butler. No, no, no. No, I saw it once. I saw it once. Yeah, yeah, I did see it. That's why I didn't remember the movie. But yes, yes, yes. You're going to throw coffee in my face and I'm going to just be like, oh. We got. We've been had, we've been took, we've been hoodwinked, bamboozled. We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us. Mm-hmm. So yeah, if we could make Malcolm X a Christian, he'd be perfect. Perfect. But you know, you're not gonna get everything. So you got to kind of put it together yourself and make it make sense. But anyway, hopefully my rant today was good for you, and I was clear with my point, and I got my point across. Hopefully, I got my point across. Please make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. If you would like to support the channel, you can go to ajsrantroom.com. That's ajsrantroom.com. If you'd like to buy me a coffee, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/ajsrantroom, or you can scan this beautiful QR code before you. We also take cash apps as well. You can scan that beautiful QR code, or you can type in AJ's rant, and you'll see my logo. If it's an image of anybody else, it is not mine. If you would like to support my other socials, you can go to X. Well, wherever you're watching from, you can go to X, you can go to Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok as well. So support me across all the socials, like, share, comment, subscribe, support, repost, all of that stuff, whatever the special features are for those particular websites. And on Fridays is my other podcast. It's once a week at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's called The Rant Experience. We do talk politics, we do talk pop culture, but we also go over music history and US history and funny stuff and inspirational stuff. So it's a variety show of sorts. So it just shows different facets of my interest as well as the stuff that I do regularly. But anyway, hopefully today I was effective. I appreciate you. Thank you all for watching, and I will catch you all in the next one. Hasta masta. Later, y'all.